Good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon and welcome to TalkSports, our weekly voting program where we speak with the movers and shakers of sports, the sportsmen, sportswomen, administrators, coaches, to the guy. Once you're involved in sports, we try to hear what you have to say. Well, as indicated, we have a special program on this weekend, and one that we have been, trying to organize for a while. But you say sometimes you have to wait for good things to happen, and we have, midst very special people indeed. The members of the Organizing Committee of the annual Intercol Championships. They are members of the Grenada Secondary Schools Games Association, well, principals, in fact. Speaking about Brother Dominic Jeremiah, principal of the Presentation Brothers College, and also Mr. Carl Andall, who's the principal of MacDonald College in St. Patrick. And as usual, my co-host Rudy and Sylvan in Toronto, Canada. And I can let you know that I'm back in New York after a week out. Hey, Super Bowl. Yes, Super Bowl. Hey, Super Bowl wasn't for coverage, it wasn't for sports coverage, it was work, but I'm back in one piece. Thanks God for that. Yeah, so as indicated, our program will be specifically with the organizing of Intercol 2023. It will be more or less the first full-blown Intercol championships post-pandemic, as I will say, full scale, let's call that. And as indicated, 2 weeks ago, we had the ISA chairman from Jamaica, Keith Wellington, speaking about boys and girls championships. As you know, Grenada also has an interest in that because we do have Grenadians participating in that as well in the ISA championships. And it's also known that when it comes to secondary schools athletics, Grenada is second to Jamaica, more or less. Well, we'll get a verdict from those gentlemen. Let's welcome all to our program and say good afternoon to you folks, Brother Jeremiah, as well as Brother Andall. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Mr. Bascom.
Right. It's a pleasure having you. And as indicated, our discussion will be centered around the organizing of secondary schools athletics. So I probably give the chairman the opportunity to start the ball rolling. That's Brother Dominic Jeremiah, and giving us a synopsis of where we are now regarding the organizing of Intercol Athletics Championships 2023 in Grenada. Brother Jeremiah?
Yes, first of all, Mr. Bascom, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be on the program. Yes, I know it's long overdue because we have been trying to connect for quite a while. But as you correctly said, sometimes the most opportune time comes just at the right moment. I want to thank you for having Mr. Andall and I. Mr. Andall is the Vice President of the Grenada Association of Principals of Secondary School. And it's really a pleasure for both of us to be here on the program today. Just for your information, we are at a critical juncture in the preparation for Intercol 2023. The momentum has been building for weeks. We are seeing the execution of a number of the individual school games taking place. And as we speak today, St. Joseph's Convent, they're having their sports. We had quite a number of sporting activity last week, and we are going to have many more in the coming week. On Wednesday last, Intercol was officially launched, and it is in the air now that Intercol is going to happen. Is going to happen over a 3-day period, March 28th, 29th, and 30th of 2023, as opposed to last year where we just had an Intercol games to kind of get the systems up and running and to get things going. we are going to be returning to our normal schedule of events for 2023. And of course, during the course of the program, we're going to be discussing exactly what we will be doing for Intercol 2023. But we have completed our conversation with our title sponsor. There's a lot of planning that has already been accomplished. The dialogue and the collaboration between key stakeholders, the Stadium Authority, the Royal Grenada Police Force, the Grenada Athletic Association, and of course, all our school principals. That is ongoing, and we look forward to a bumper event in 2023.
Okay, probably a bit of intro from Mr. Andall. Welcome, Mr. Andall. I know the last time we spoke might have been on probably football or something. I don't think it was, I'm not sure it was athletics, but an intro from Mr. Andall. How things?
Good, can't complain. And you are correct, the last time we spoke was basically football. But by now you know my background in sports.
Yeah.
Correct.
My background in sports. So as we speak, I'm the first VP in football.
Mm-hmm.
But Mr. Silvan will tell you that athletics, I'm very, very big on athletics.
Yeah,
I think I may be the only principal who is a level 2 qualified coach.
Correct.
And I think you used to and officiate as well, being among so how things going on in the northern parish? MacDonald College, they had their sports meet already. No, it's an early March, I think, right? MacDonald College, early March, from what I noticed. And I think I saw a flyer sometime during this week that preparation. So as Mr. Jeremiah was indicated, things are really on stream for this year's championship, and individually in terms of the schools, they already start having their respective sports meet.
Personally, I'm not really satisfied with how things going in the north. Because I've realized that for as far as Guav, right up to Sates, there is no athletics club or anything like that. And yes, MacDonald College, we are trying our best to kind of fill the void. Mm-hmm. Many years ago, attempts was made to start a club up here, but I don't think persons are so interested. So right now, as we speak, even though I'm the principal, I realize I still have to make the time off to go out on the field with the athletes. Because you and I know, without preparation, once you don't have a good program, nothing will really happen. It's my dream that the Athletic Association, together with the Ministry of Sports, would put, especially the Ministry of Sports, would put structures in place to ensure that all secondary schools on Ireland have a good athletics program.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is the actual preparation. I mean, not taking away anything from what Brother Jeremiah said, because I know from the organizing committee point of view, there's much you can do in terms of putting things in place for the execution of the meet. Okay? But in terms of the whole preparation itself, whether or not you have enough preparation in terms of meets prior to Intercol, because most times we know it's just your sports day and then Intercol. There were attempts before where you have various meets prior to Intercol, sometimes where athletes will get in tune and get ready for the big day. As we see in Jamaica, for example, almost every weekend there's a championship. Even though the schools will have theirs, there's a championship taking place somewhere in Jamaica, so that the athletes get ready for boys and girls champ, and even for Carifta games to an extent.
I would like to comment on this. I'm happy you say that, because by now you're aware that we started Western Games since 1994. And Western Games was a very, very important games for us in part of our preparation for Intercol. And even last week at the Really Meet, I was finding out what's the story where Western Games are concerned. And from all indications, there will be no Western Games this year. And which is very sad, because you'll be aware that the best training or the best preparation for athletes is competition. You have an athlete in training week in, week out. Unless you don't give them the opportunity to test themselves against opposition, it's really, really difficult for them to really perform at the best. So this is something we will have to promote, and myself and Brother Jeremiah, even among the secondary schools, all the secondary schools principals, we have to take the time out to explain to them the importance of having these zonal meets where the student athlete could get an idea of where they're at. And I also noticed that would be a motivation for them to decide where they're at and see how much work that they really have to do. Mr. Bascom is clear. The passion for athletics in Grenada is great. It's really, really great. But looking at it at a technical standpoint, even though it is great, persons still have to understand that what you put out on the day, it depends a lot of how much preparation that you put in. And you would see, we go to a lot of athletics meet and there are a lot of injuries. It's because the students are pushing the body way beyond the limit based on what they are prepared to do.
I just wanted to weigh in here a little bit. I agree with Mr. Andall that preparation is absolutely necessary, particularly when you are moving towards the culmination of a major event in the year, like Intercol. I think I have to give the Athletic Association a little credit here, because they have been having some mini activities since October, November, and some of our athletes have been participating in these events. And I know we had relay meet. Quite a number of our athletes participated in the relay meet. And at the point that Mr. Andall made about not having the adequate club structure around the country is a valid point, because I think the quality of the participation in the relay meet would have been even greater if we had more clubs spread out across the island that would give all our athletes the opportunity to participate at the club level. But despite the fact that we had relay meet, we are looking forward to national champs coming up, and that would be an event that is taking place prior to Intercol. So we're hoping that that would be an avenue where our athletes would have an opportunity to compete. And certainly we have the Whitsuntide game that's coming up. While the Whitsuntide will be after the Intercol, it certainly is another opportunity that the GA has created. But it is true that when we have multiple competitive events taking place at the zonal level, it really gives all our athletes a chance to compete, to test themselves against the best at the zonal level. And it also gives those of us who are looking at it from the national level an idea of where our premier athletes are, and the need for us to support them and to create opportunities for them to continue competing.
Okay. I noticed some comments already coming in, but before I get into those comments, I want to make sure I get in some of my questions and comments as well. It has to do with some of the logistics and participation. How many of our secondary schools have already confirmed participation at Intercol 2023? And I'm saying it because sometimes, for reasons, there are reasons why some schools may not participate. Are all our schools participating? And can you give us a number in terms of participation?
Well, the question of participation among our schools at this juncture is a non-question, because all our principals have been on board. All our principals have been preparing the schools for their own individual track and meet events. And I, from where I sit, where Mr. Andall and I sit at this juncture, there is no need to worry about schools not participating in Intercol at this time.
All right. Well, I'm happy to.
But you know, over the last 4 years, we had issues with participation, and Walk to Rule was one of them.
Correct.
But prior to Walk to Rule, and now Walk to Rule is over, we are certain that all our schools, well, this year we'll be actually having more secondary schools participating, because just last year or the year before, we have a new secondary school that was established in St. George. That's the Institute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, they come in and they fire you, Miss Samantha Postle Antoine Postle. She is the principal. So we'll be having additional schools this year at Intercol.
Right, and in addition to that, we just got application from a new school that started about a year ago, wanting to become members of the Grenada Association of Principals of Secondary Schools. They want to be included on the Intercol roster. So that is being processed right now to see if we really can accommodate them this year.
Okay, and well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's a issue that I want to raise regarding participation, inclusion, and then later on. But let me just go on to our Intercol. You know, really is never short of excitement. However, what can fans look forward to seeing in terms of probably new events for this year? For example, you know, we have a pole vault equipment at the stadium. We had athletes and coaches who have participated in pole vault seminars some years ago and things like that. We had athletes who went on to Jamaica, participated in pole vault events, etc., etc. So I just use pole vault as one example. But what are some new events, if any, that may be included in Intercol 2023? I mean, in terms of, you know, creating the excitement, creating the buzz, moving it to the next level.
So I'm going to allow Mr. Andall to speak to the new events that are going to be included. But I want to preempt that by saying one of the reasons why a decision was taken by the principals in 2017 to move Intercol to a 3-day event as opposed to a 2-day event was precisely because we were thinking about ways in which we need to grow the game. And if you're really going to grow the game, you have to begin to put structures in place to enable us to achieve that. And we realized that if we had kept the games at 2 days, it would have been difficult to create this opportunity for growth. And also we were concerned about our athletes. We are still concerned about our athletes. Hence the reason why at the launch, we reminded the general public that we are still focused on the care of our athletes. What a 3-day event would do is to allow our athletes to get sufficient rest and time for recovery, particularly for the athletes who are participating in multiple events. But critically, we know what equipment we have in at the National Stadium. The conversation between the technical people and the Principals Association is a conversation that has been going on. And the goal is to incrementally add new events to the schedule of events. And so this year, we've made a decision that we're going to move in the direction of adding 2 combined events. But in addition to that, we have, instead of having the 4 category structure that we used to have, we now have we have returned to the sub-junior category, the junior category, and the senior category, as opposed to having the prep, which was more like a developmental category. But what we have noticed is that over the years, the number of preps that we had in that category were just not sufficient to be able to sustain that. But we also wanted to be in line with what is accepted internationally at junior games, that we have 3 standard category of sub-juniors, juniors, and seniors. So Mr. Andall will speak to some more to that.
Okay, Mr. Andall.
Yes, Mr. Bascom. You talk about excitement in Intercol. I know without a doubt the excitement is great. And in this case, they tell you absence make the heart fonder. If you look at social media so far, the hype is on with the GBSS, SAS, PBC, and of late I noticed that PBC and GBSS is even greater than before. Just last week, PBC was able to defeat GBSS in the basketball tournament. And you saw threats on social media that it's only basketball they could win, they could never win. Right. And social media is a good thing. Social media have its ills, but it's an excellent song because in terms of the promotion, we are getting a lot of promotion through social media. And because the last true intercall we had was since 2018, the person's appetite, they're really, really waiting for it. The anticipation is great. But as brother said, we got some windows of opportunity because we removed the prep division. So this year we have 2 new events, mixed events, that's for male and female. In the male, we have the decathlon, and they'll be competing in 8 events, namely shot put, javelin, 110-meter hurdles, 400 meters, 1500 meters, discus, pole vault, and high jump. In the female division, we'll have the heptathlon, and they'll be competing in 100-meter hurdles, high jump, shot put, long jump, javelin, 200 and 800 meters. I must say, what we did on the world stage, or what we are still doing on the world stage in the multiple events, it's amazing. People like Kurt Felix and his brother.
Lyndon.
Right, Lyndon Victor.
Yeah.
Right, and we are always noting, because generally speaking, at the secondary level, the students specialize very, very late. So when we prepare for our sports, most of our top athletes prepare for all events. They do all events, the jumps, the throws, and the running. As we speak, we have John Thomas, a young athlete from St. David Secondary, who is doing extremely well in these events. So I think it's a good time for us to expose more of our athletes to the multiple events, because without a doubt, we could make a mark on the international scene.
Well, and just to put a little thing in, a little input, and when you look at our participation in character games, for example, over the years, once we participate, in the multiple events, in most cases, we win medals. And over the years, we noticed that Grenada once dominated the multiple events rather, at the character games. Just an input. Folks like Joel Phillip and, a few of the guys from St. David's Catholic Secondary School. And even to piggyback on that as well, when you look at participation in Windward Island Secondary School games, for example, most of the participants are multi-talented in that, they participate in multiple events. Then they're also in football and basketball, et cetera, et cetera. Just to add to what you're saying.
You are very correct, Mr. Bascom, because one of the first characters on here, character 2000, I remember showing Merriman, got a silver medal at the multiple events. And listening to you, it's without a doubt, our children are very, very talented, ultra talented.
Absolutely.
And a lot has to do with our lifestyle, going to the garden, bringing water, climbing the trees on the beach per se. And talent-wise, it's my belief that we're on par with Jamaica and some of the other bigger countries. It's just a matter of selling the importance of sports to not just the kids, but to the general public. because I have been through. I have been in this as a teacher, coach, manager, vice principal, principal. And one of the biggest challenges that we face is that there's a perception out there in some quarters that the children who do well in sport, if they participate too much in sport, they won't do well academically.
It's a myth.
You know,
Yeah.
Mr. Andall made the point about the perception that still exists in certain quarters about the importance of sports, or sometimes the skepticism about whether a parent might have in particular about whether their child should be involved in sports or not. Just 2 weeks ago, the Grenada Association of Principals of Secondary School had an opportunity to facilitate a program that we have as principals across the Caribbean. So Grenada got to lead that program. And we chose as our topic for that session leadership in sports at the secondary level. And the reason why we chose that topic is because we wanted to raise awareness, not only among ourselves, but to raise awareness among principals across the Caribbean of how important it is for principals as leaders to be encouraging the students to participate in sports. And our meet director, Intercol director, Jonelle Mitchell, was the one who did the presentation. And it was well received across the region. And that was a testimony to me that in Grenada, our heads are in the right place. However, we just need to continue to create the enabling environment for both the public and the private sector and governments to continue to do their best. And they have been doing things over the years. But sports is an expensive business. And if we're going to get the kinds of results and rewards that we want from the talented cadre of athletes that we have in Grenada, we're going to have to create greater support systems for them, not only opportunities for training and so on, but also opportunities for them to receive the kinds of equipment that they might need as part of the development and part of their training. Mm-hmm. So I just want to put a plug in here that going forward as part of the transformational process, sports has to be on the front burner, because there is a lot of opportunities that exist locally, regionally, and internationally for our athletes to benefit from.
Mm-hmm. Let me, before I go on to Rudy on it, there is something I want to raise regarding, it comes on the logistics, I would say, because there have been complaints about the quality of the broadcast of Intercol in previous years. And, I can recall probably about 10 years ago, I did a sports commentary calling for something like a central broadcast system where, it sort of minimizes the, the instances where every Tom, Dick, and Harry, just wake up on Intercol morning and just decide to do coverage of this major event. And I think, Brother Jeremiah, we have discussed that in the past.
Yes.
But what can you share with us regarding the broadcast of Intercol 2023?
I'm glad that you're raising this question, because, when we are finished with Intercol every year, we have an opportunity to do a postmortem. And we do listen to our critics. We do listen to those who have ideas that they want to posit for our consideration. And this is one of the ideas. This year, for the very first time, we're moving in the direction of trying to create a central broadcast. So we have one entity that is going to be responsible for that media side of the Intercol games. And so anyone who is going to be broadcasting the game, whether it's a television house or some media house or radio or whatever the case might be, would be tapping into that central broadcast. Okay. Now we are in the process of working out the details, but the conversation and the agreement as to how we're going to go forward has already been agreed on. So we've been listening to that. We're not going to get it right in the first year, but we're certainly moving in the direction of trying to create the central broadcast, because at the end of the day, quality control is very important, particularly if we are going to stream the games, which we are going to be doing, to the diaspora. Or pay-per-view marketing is going to start very soon, because all our folks, all our Grenadian residents in the diaspora, persons from other islands who usually follow Intercol and Girls and Boys Champ, we want to make sure that at least we begin the process of offering quality central broadcasts of the games, because we have, as you said, we have had a lot of Tom, Dick, and Harry. Everybody is an expert on Intercol and have their commentary, and sometimes they say things that are not necessarily in the interest of our athletes or even in the interest of our country and the development of sports in our country. And we have to be very careful about, what we put out there as a product from the game. And if the game is going to grow and develop, that is an area that we have to continue to work on. So we're beyond just the conversation now. We are actually at the phase of putting structures in place.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because rightly said, I think sometimes the commentary and things sort of, diminishes the the quality of the event itself, and I think it doesn't do well to the athletes, first of all, and to the Intercol, the history of Intercol, when people somehow they get on the air and they say all sorts of things that, I don't know. But I'm glad to know that we're moving in that direction, something that we have been calling for a while. Rudian, before I come on to you, let me get some comments. And there's one here from Jason Skeet, a bit long, but let me see if I can get it up on the screen. For decades, this has been the premier sports meet in our country. We are still years behind where we should be. Congratulations to all those who would have taken it to this point. Fact is, we need to do more to give our aspiring superstars the best possible chance for greatness. A greater collaborative effort between the Ministry of Sports, the Grenada Athletic Association, the Grenada Olympic Committee, the Secondary Schools Association, the title sponsors. We have to remember what got us here would not get us there. And I think Brother Jeremiah would have covered most of that in the intro. You also spoke about, I think we just covered that as well, the way we market the games on television to the region and the world, why the world needs serious attention. And Tad, hearing of the man in blue, the man in green, the girl from convent, and so on. We have to get the best broadcasters, even if it means looking outside in the interim to help us lift the standard of the broadcast of the product. We have to market our product and our young athletes properly so as to aid in giving them the best chance of greatness. Thanks, Jason. I think we just covered that as well, because that has been a concern, over the years. What is Best Babs? What is done different this year in terms of giving back to the schools from the funds generated from Intercol? Why was the point system changed? As the governing body of the games, does the association have a say about this change, and why agree to it if you did? Well, Best Babs, you asked the questions, you answered it one time. Let's hear if the organizers have anything to speak about regarding the points system. Any changes to the point system, as Best Babs she has alluded?
Well, let me put it this way. The point system has come up over time for review. One of the things that we did this year, after we had a lot of commentary and suggestion about the categories, we studied the feedback that we were getting, and we came to a place where we had to make a change in the area of the categories. The point system is currently under review. It's not going to change this year, but certainly come 2024, one might see that we move in the direction to change the point system. But you see, there are pros and cons with these things, and sometimes you have to look at both sides, and you have to think through it carefully, because I was speaking to somebody recently, and they were tinkering with the point system, and they realized it's not so easy to change the point system as it is, and we certainly don't want to do anything that's going to put anybody at a disadvantage, or put anybody at a greater advantage. We want to ensure that we create a level playing field for good competition to occur. So that's all I have to say on that at this point. Mr. Andall and I, we have had ongoing conversation about the point system, but we can't change everything overnight. You have to take your time.
But it is a concern, because someone once told me that a school can actually place fourth in every event and still win Intercol, eh?
Tabasco. The only thing I would say with the point system, second and third place.
Correct.
Could get more points than first.
That's it. That's what the challenge is.
And that's one of the first things we have to correct, because with the old point system, we had 6, 4, 2, and 1. So if you come second and third as a school, you will be on par with the first place school.
First place, yeah.
But now if you come second and third, you'll get way more points than what first would get. So that's one of the areas we have discussed. We'll start with that. And without a doubt, some changes will be made in the future.
Absolutely.
All right. Glad to hear that. Rudian,
gentlemen, it's good to see you guys. So Jeremiah, it's a pleasure.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Andall, you always get my grace, my love, just for who you are, and you have been growing, and I really like to see that. And thank you for everything that you have done for me and what you are doing now for MacDonald College. I am a past student of MacDonald College. Sorry, Mr. Jeremiah, I'm biased.
No. That's great. That's great. And MacDonald College is celebrating 60 years this year. Yes, and we all want to be supportive of that. Mr. I know there is a show coming up. I know we're talking sports, but there's a show coming up, and I hope Mr. Andall make sure that I get my tickets.
You don't want me to stand on that show, because
I know.
All the Crown City artists, Mr. Bascom, come right back, scholar right back, would be on the show. But I don't understand. Really, go ahead.
Right, okay.
Forgive me earlier on in the intro. My phone rang. I was in a car accident yesterday, and insurance called me to arrange my rental. So that's why I had to kind of do that. It's not my fault, so that's good. But a lot of the things that I heard is question I wanted to ask. But here's a question I wanted to ask. I have a few questions. And one of it is in terms of the athletes and categories. Good to see you go back to the sub-juniors. Do every event have a certain amount of athletes in it? Let me explain. I am a part of the Ontario Track and Field Association, so I arrange the part of the highest arranged. And what we do, every category has 24 in it. So that means there is three times. So each time is 3. So and we do from the sub-junior, junior, different name, but the same 3 categories. So for every event, there is always 3 going on for that. So the 100 meters have the senior boys have three groups going at one time, 8 in a lane. Is that the same thing?
I'm not clear. I don't understand what you're saying.
Let me explain it. Sub-junior 100 meter boys how many athletes is allowed to be in that event?
What we normally do, we would invite 2 athletes from each school.
Okay.
And based on the number of entries, we have a system where we will get the 8 fastest athletes to compete in the finals.
Oh, so you're going straight to a finals and not a quarterfinals to a finals?
Yes, we go straight to a finals.
Now, do you think that is fair?
Okay, so well, remember it's 2 days we have. So what we normally do, so if we have 4 heats, the winner of each heat will be automatic.
Right.
Yeah.
Then after that, we take the next 4 fastest time. So you could come at least 4th or 3rd in a heat, then you still could make it to the finals.
Correct.
Okay. Which is the same thing. Which is the same thing we do. You said the 8 fastest, so that's why I wasn't too sure how you do that. So it's the exact same thing.
Yes.
So yeah, which is good. Now, another major question is concerning hurdles. Most hurdles is basically done on a track itself. It's hard to do it on a grass. And in competition, so like MacDonald College, your sports may not have hurdles. How do you get a hurdler into an event like Intercol when you never get a chance to practice it or even do it as a competition?
That is a challenge that we have, and I trust that in the future the authorities could see the wisdom in at least giving us another Mondo track, somewhere countryside that could be accessible to schools in the outer parishes. Although Mr. Silvan, you could train for the hurdles on the grass track.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, you could train for the hurdles on the grass track.
Well, in addition to that, remember the folks from St. David's Catholic Secondary School, even Johnny, for example, she's a hurdle champion, and I don't think St. David's Catholic has a Mondo track. She competed on the grass, But I understand the point you're making, Rudy, and in terms of the disadvantage that the schools have. Yeah.
Not only on the athletes, but it's also when we talk about now points, because then you're going to have a school who may not have hurdlers and others who are the opportunity to do hurdles. Here come that school could get 20 points from one event because of how many people they have to put in, right? So I'm just saying that in the sense where, does it mean in the few years to remove the point system from hurdles?
Well, I want to agree with you because, as Mr. Bascom said, we strangely, Marty Phillip from
Victoria.
Yes, got a silver medal at Carifta.
Yeah.
In hurdles. So we have to look at the economics here, and as I said, I trust in the future we could have other Mondo tracks out of the city. But for now, once our athletes are serious and they prepare well, they still should be able to compete on the track.
Okay.
I also wanted to add here, Mr. Silvan, that we had a workshop at the beginning of January to begin to reorient our students and our coaches to the discipline of hurdling. We are not going to have hurdles as we did in 2017 and 2018 at Intercol, because the athletes who were competent and gave very impressive performances at Intercol, they have moved on. And we have a new cadre of athletes, student athletes, who have not had the opportunity to be prepared adequately for that kind of competition. So we're not having it as a single event at Intercol. But as part of the combined event, we wanted to gradually reintroduce it. And Mr. Wayne McSween from St. Andrews, he is one of many coaches in Grenada who have done advanced courses in the coaching of hurdling. And that workshop was a very successful workshop. It was another example of a collaboration between the Grenada Athletic Association and the Principals Association. And the list that the person identified a while ago there as having collaboration. Intercol has always had collaboration with all these entities. Just recently, I received an invitation from the Grenada Olympic Association. We're going to have a meeting with them soon because, you know, we wanted them to be part of the collaboration. But Mr. Andall himself, you know, has some background in coaching huddles. And I agree with him that while, you know, the economics is such at this time that we cannot have everybody on a Mondo track, the goal certainly should be that if somebody is going to be participating in training for huddles, that at least they would have some opportunity to train on a proper track.
No, and you're right, because you answer the question, like again, in terms of doing clinics, right? That's one of the things we also do out here, because our challenge in the high school system up here is high jump and pole vault. And the area, because we have seen kids get hurt, like literally get hurt.
Yes.
2 years ago, we did had a kid who was paralyzed due to that. So we take that part very serious, and another school that has that. So there is a true disadvantage through the high school system here, because, and again with the point system, which is what we talk about quite a bit, and every year we talk about it because of the pole vault, because a school may have that, you know, that facility, that equipment, and others don't. So pole vault is something that they literally don't get to do, and the point still counts based on that. So it's something that we truly talk about, but that's really good. You mentioned that adding the combined event. One of the topic me and Mr. Bascom we talk about a lot, which we hoping Grenada can get into, which I see as another push for Grenada to get a medal at the World Games, is having a mixed 4x4. Have you guys ever thought of doing that? I know there's a disadvantage of some of the boys' school and girls' school, but it's the same disadvantage as in the hurdles, where some people may not get to go or not, right? We're looking at adding that, and I think that's going to be something really good in the future.
I think mixed events are becoming very popular. I see it even at some of the other regional games. We haven't discussed that as a group as yet, but it's something that I've certainly made a note of, and I'm sure Mr. Andall would have some something to say about that, because these are the kinds of things, the low-hanging fruit events that we could add. The mix event is one of those events that I think we have to look very seriously at trying to include. And I promise you we're going to take a look at that.
Yeah. And not just before we continue, you mentioned about the point system. Mr. Andall, you know, we watch the NCAA, and it could be the same thing. Like you said, somebody could be coming fourth all the time and win NCAA title. And that's just how it's set up. So I think when it comes to the point system, I think when you guys put your heads together, you look at it in the best way that you think that fits you as a body, in terms of the point system, because everybody has their own views in terms of, you know, what is right and what is wrong, and who is getting disadvantage and so forth. So my advice to you guys is, as a body, the people trust you guys to put you guys in a position to make a decision, like whatever point system you guys choose to put. I think you're going to be suited and best fit the people and the athletes of Grenada.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, and and in addition to that, you know, it's all good to have the competition and be competitive, but it's not all about winning. Remember, is showcasing our talents. Yes, the competitive side of it too, but I think the overall objective of such activities is to, you know, ensure that our kids get the opportunity to showcase their talents outside of what we call the four walls of you know, the school, you know, and things like that. So which is very important. So it's all not, it's not everything about winning, I should say. Not
winning. Winning is important.
I know, but sometimes we get carried away with just, you know, the winning aspect of it. I know it's and it adds to the psyche too of the, you know, the athletes and the schools, and, you know, the bragging, etc. But you know, and even for the competitors, you know, the spectators, you know, the whole excitement. But I think it also adds to the development of those athletes, you know, and you know, we must not shy away from that aspect of it. I know these guys, well, they are principals, so obviously winning for them is very important, you know. So
winning is important, but the way we see Intercol, we see Intercol and all our sporting activity as part of our educational package.
Right.
It's all about education.
Yeah. All-round development. Yeah.
Right. And that's the reason why over the years, almost all the decisions we had taken had to do with the development of the athletes. Because even when we added the prep category was about creating a developmental category. It was about developing the athletes so that when they come into the secondary school, they don't have to wait 2 years before they start competing. That category gave them the opportunity to begin their training and to begin their competition. But as you correctly said, you know, it's really is not all about winning.
So Bascom, I have a different take on that, you know, because you see, life to strive for excellence, you have to strive to win. My only issue is that the way some persons will behave if they do not win.
Right.
That is my biggest concern, because I always tell persons, imagine there's a vacancy for a job and 5 of us apply. One person will be selected. Out of the 5, one person will be selected without a doubt. And obviously, the prospective employer looking for the best. So my concern is that when persons lose or persons are not successful, and we're dealing with adults here, the biggest issue with sport and winning and losing, a lot of the time is not the kids. It's the adults behind them.
Well, as my great school song says, you know, to win and be sporting is easy, to lose with a smile is hard. Yet to the sportsman, really, the game is its own reward. You know,
sure what we want to hear.
Yeah, you might be hearing a lot of that. You might be hearing a lot of that come end of March. You might be hearing a lot of that come towards the end of March. But,
can I ask a question, gentlemen? Can I ask a question before? You know, over the years, the way the system is almost the same as today. You know, we have our school sports, then we may have a Western games, and then we kind of go to Intercol. There might be games in between. Do you guys ever thought of expanding, pushing back Intercol, maybe a week or 2 weeks later, and maybe have a pre-Intercol games? So at least some of the athletes in those other parishes that have grass get the opportunity to run on a Mondo track just before the games. You ever thought about it?
You have to push back. I mean, you have to push back Carifta game.
Yeah, we have Carifta. So Intercol will be just before the end of the school term. And we're preparing for Carifta. But as brother said to you, most of the mini meets that we had took place at the stadium. We have really meet last weekend. On the 11th and 12th, we'll be having national champs. But my only concern, you know what's my concern over this, is that a lot of the schools do not participate in these mini meets as well as the national champs. And when we met last December, we had a committee, which is a combination of the GA as well as the Principal Association. That is one of my big concerns. So right now, as we speak, at St. Patrick level, the primary school kids up here, they would participate as MacDonald College to get a feel of the track. So last weekend, we had under 13 boys and under 13 girls from the primary school up here. And so that is my concern. There's ample opportunities for the kids to get exposed to the track. But it's up to the school, the respective schools, and the opportunity to do so.
Okay. The other challenge we have, because most of our students are preparing for CSEC and CAPE exams, the schedule is such that if we were to tweak it too far away from what it is, it's going to affect those who have to, finish things like the SBAs, the labs, all the preparation for the exams that are coming up. So we have a system here that if we manage it properly, we could get more out of it without necessarily having to change it. Because years ago, I used to wonder, is it possible to do more? But, when I became a principal and I saw the administrative side of trying to make sure that we balance the academics and the preparation for external exam with the sporting calendar, I realize we can't tweak that too far. What we'll have to do is to maximize on those other opportunities that we have in the month of January, February, March to get more as far as our preparation of our athletes are concerned.
Yeah, and that means you have to work along with the Ministry of, well, in this case, Ministry of Sports Education. I think they come under one now, but previously the Ministry of Education has to be part of it, as well as the Ministry of Sports. I have some questions, but Roger is saying, can we return to publishing the Intercol preview, or it's like in the past, it really helped to hype and the expectation of the games and promoted the athletes? That's the Intercol preview.
Yes, Mr. Duncan. I
It's
know
a great idea.
Yes, I know what he's speaking about, and to me, it generated a lot of interest. One, and even on the day, persons came to Intercol with the preview. So before certain activities, they have an idea who to look out for. So, Mr. Duncan, yes, we endorse that, and we will see what we could do to get that preview going.
Yeah, I think what we need now is the personnel, because in the past, I think Mr. Conrad Francis was very instrumental in being the editor of the preview. So you would want somebody who knows something about track and field, somebody who has the time, or who, if we had the resources to be able to employ somebody to kind of go around to all the schools. It's a lot of work. It's not impossible to do. It's a fantastic idea. Every year, somebody is raising the issue of the preview. And certainly I've been thinking about what kind of structure we could put in place to make sure that it returns. I think we're going to bring that back on the table for some consideration.
But the person must go on to each school. It's just a matter of the data. We have the technology now.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
We can ask the principals to send in data from the schools.
But there's someone who can collate the data as well, as he's saying.
You collect the data and you do a preliminary judgment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
But you'll need someone who has an idea of it as well, collating it. Well, you want photos, all these sort of things. But I think it's something that could be on the table, as Brother Jeremiah says.
Maybe Mr. Bascom, maybe that's something you could consider.
Well, that's when I retired. I'm back again.
I know.
There's okay, some things coming up there, but I want to ask you, and by the way, before I continue, gentlemen, I know we on the hour now, but I really want us to get in some of, so I'm asking you for extra minutes so that we can finish up. Questions are coming in, comments are coming in, and I want to get some of them in. So one, Brother Jeremiah, it has to do with a collaboration, with other like minds in the region. For example, the ISA Jamaica Boys and Girls Champs, collaboration, working together, seeing what sort of examples they have that, probably can fit into the Grenada style, etc., etc. What do you think about a collaborative effort in the region?
But I'm happy that you're raising it here, because prior to a conversation that I had with Mr. Keith Wellington, who was on the program last week. Mr. Keith Wellington is the chairman of ISA, that is the Intersecondary School Association in Jamaica, who organizes the Boys and Girls Champ. I had a relationship with his predecessor. Well, not I, but our organization had a relationship with him. As a matter of fact, Mr. Wellington's predecessor and I, together with the chairman of the Principals Association in Barbados, our representative from Barbados, went to St. Vincent in 2018 to try to work with the Principals Association in St. Vincent to get the inter-secondary school games up and running. So I spoke to Mr. Wellington just last week. I even reported that already to my Grenada Association of Principals of Secondary Schools here, that I had such conversation with Mr. Wellington. And we have plans, because in 2020, a couple of us were supposed to travel to Jamaica, and of course, representatives from Jamaica come to Grenada. So he and we have spoken. We have reconnected. I want to give you some credit for that too, because it was through the program that I was able to rush to make sure that I reconnected with Jamaica. And I think I'm looking forward for some good things to come out of that. So hopefully Mr. Andall and I may have to travel to Jamaica for Boys and Girls Champ in 2024. That's a real possibility.
Yeah, I endorse that, and I really hope that happens, because I've attended Boys and Girls Champs, and I'm telling you, it's a real nice experience. Even the days leading up, going to the schools, you know, I'm telling you, it's something else. You know, the pep talk at the schools. Mm-hmm. I've been to Jamaica College, Calabar, you know, and the pep talk where the former athletes come in and speak to the athletes. The boys and girls, they actually in camp. Well, it depends, because you know Jamaica is big, so some of the schools from, you know, the parishes, the outer parishes, will come into Kingston and spend a couple of days. You know, it is almost a pre sort of world championship time you get when you go to these things. You know, it's nice. Couple things. What's the title sponsor for the Intercol? Well, and I say Intercol because I want to get some clarification on that based on the question. But I know we had Scotiabank before. And by the way, I have my old programs. Right. My old programs still here back then. So very good. That's 2013, and I think this might have been 2017. You know, I like to collect those things and have it. But what's the title sponsor?
Good question. In my introductory remarks, I thought I had mentioned that the new sponsor for the second year is Republic Bank Grenada. Okay. Scotia has moved out of Grenada, and I think they had a
merger,
and so now Scotia is the bank that is present on the ground in Grenada. So it's Republic Bank Intercol.
Yeah. Okay, so Republic Bank Intercol. Now, let me see. He made Is it the inter-secondary school games or Intercol, intercollegiate? I know we say Intercol for short, but we normally say inter-secondary schools athletics.
If we go to the tradition is not necessarily inter-secondary school, even though that is what we mean. But we got Intercol from intercollegiate. All right. So we don't make a big fuss about whether it's intercollegiate or inter-secondary. But it seems to me that the documents that I'm seeing from the tradition of the game seem to say that it is intercollegiate games, hence Intercol. But inter-secondary, we're not making a big deal about that.
All right. And speaking about inter-secondary, intercollegiate, question here now, is it possible for Neuro and National College, which is CC, take part in the age categories at Intercol again?
Well, that's a revolving conversation. And at this point, there is no concluding or conclusive decision on that. I think among the last time we had a conversation like this, among the secondary school principals, there was no agreement on that.
Everyone,
welcome.
Let me hear Mr. Andall views on that.
Yes, my take on that. It's really, really baffling. Eh? It's baffling. And to me, sometimes I feel like I'm fighting a lone battle where this is concerned. We have athletes who leave secondary school at the age of 16, 17. They are far from the peak where athletics are concerned. They move on to NULO, they move on to TAM-CC. And some persons think it is not correct, it is not right for them to participate in intercall games, notwithstanding they have the age. That to me is really, really baffling. We just have 100,000 persons in Grenada. So obviously there is a small pool where our athletes are concerned. And in my opinion, they should be allowed to participate.
I had a certain enthusiasm about 3 years ago when we went to the And I raised that with the hope that it would gain some traction, because I had a concern that if we are interested in the ongoing development of our athletes, those who are within the specified age category, even if they were on a different institution, we had to maybe find a creative way to get them to be involved. But that didn't meet with a lot of enthusiasm from the forum where I raised it.
Mr. Bascom, I don't know if you remember, but remember the Institute for Further Education?
IFE, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In 1987, IFE participated at Intercol Games. And I was a student of IFE then. We firmly believe we could have been victorious. We had persons like Wayne Wagiti Redhead. We had persons like Mackie Griffith.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had persons like Wagiti and others. And it's only because Jeffrey Neptune got injured. So what all I'm saying is that, and personally, you see, when you talk about winning, some persons, they are not supportive of that because they think it could hinder the chances of winning. And that's my biggest problem with winning is concerned. We have children who pass the student of MacDonald College in July, or GBSS in July, September in Tam CC, and you see them as the enemy. No.
Well, that's why I made the point earlier about the concept of just winning,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying if we think about it as, the holistic development outside of just winning. Winning is important, I say, for the psyche, etc. But if we just thinking about the winning, then it goes back to what you're saying there.
I'm also a member of the Grenada Union of Teachers. I'm an executive member. And right now I have a similar challenge.
Well, I was about to, I say I will wrap up on that issue when it comes to, I know what you're speaking about, and I wanted to leave it for last because I see it making the rounds on social media. I know Brother Jeremiah may not be aware of it, but I wanted to leave it kind of last on that issue. So you will come back to talk about it regarding that, but it ties in, I think, in terms of participation. Yeah, it's a similar issue in terms of participation. But so probably while you are at it, probably we can just go. It has to do, Brother Jeremiah, with the private primary schools participating in the primary school, the National Primary Schools Athletics Championship.
Right.
And there's the argument that most of these athletes do go on to participate or represent, whether it's the PBC or GBSS or whoever in the secondary school at some stage. Okay. So why not give them the opportunity to participate in the primary school, setting?
Right.
I see it making a lot of rounds on social media, good to and fro arguments. And I'll give you folks who are principals of secondary schools to probably chime in on that.
Well, the Principals Association is the template in that we have both public and private schools as part of our association and as part of Intercol. It is my belief that if the amalgamation of both private and public school, primary school sports will bring mutual benefit to both the private and the public school. And I think it has the potential to bring benefit because it will lift the quality of the event. Then I certainly want to suggest that we should be looking in that direction. The other thing is that I think the primary school games if we go in that direction, then the primary school games would have to be expanded to be over at least a 2-day period.
It's already 2 days, sir. It's already 2 days. It's already a 2-day period.
Right.
So Bascom, you want me to speak?
Yes, please. And you're speaking as a member of the Grenada Union of Teachers as well, right?
Well, I'm speaking as an executive member.
Executive member.
Yeah, but so because of that, there's a lot of things I will not be able to see because over the last few weeks we had serious discussion on that, I, for one, I support it 100%. But as I said, based on the discussion and decision that we have taken, I cannot come in public and give this kind of information. So
it means that you have to abide by the decision taken.
Yes, I have to abide by the decision taken of the executive.
Fair enough. Yeah. But you say you support the participation of the secondary, of the private primary schools.
300%, sir.
That's good to hear. And, gentlemen,
I have one question.
Yes.
So after speaking last week with the Principal Association of Jamaica, it's something we always talk about, and as principals, I wanted to ask you guys this question. It's difficult for me because I'm in a system out here where I understand the system here. We have this system in Grenada and this education aspect in Grenada that it's been years under the British. There might be little changes, but that's just how the British system is, and we've been this way for many, many years. Would you guys like to see a later start of high school for students, or that the fact that maybe high school students, elementary school students going to high school maybe at the age of 14, and you're seeing high school athletes finishing up by 18, 19 years old in high school? Do you like to see a later, something like that? There's not much we can do now based on the age. We could talk about expanding the schools, maybe not all schools, but some schools to go to maybe a Form 6. So we get some students to stay back so they can compete in Intercol, like we talk about, the Tom CC and so forth. But is that something like, I would like to see that? You know, the elementary schools start at a later age, maybe 13, 14, and the high school kids now moving on will be there until they're 18, 19. In that way, when they come to the high school, they're an adult. They go into university, they can stay on campus, those kind of things. Because right now, a 16-year-old going to university cannot stay on their own. You know, they're not allowed to. You know, so I'm just asking that question based on the North American system and sort of a system of how Jamaica is as well.
That's a heavy question. But I taught in the United States for a couple of years, and I understand the United States high school system very well. And having gone to school here and spent most of my professional administrative life here, whether I have a preference or not, it's a tall order to change the system as it is. It would require radical change. However, I think our Education Act has made provision for students to have a second year at secondary school, and I think a lot of schools have taken advantage of that, particularly schools that are interested in the continued development of the student athlete. And for some students athlete, it's even necessary that they take a second year to help get the academics up to par so that they can capitalize on opportunities that may be available to them. The challenge I have at my school is that a lot of my students matriculate out of the school at a younger age, probably even younger than some students from other schools. So my senior category is always a challenge because the students write their exams and they move on to TAM-CC, and there's no need for them to remain, right?
Yeah.
Other schools have different kinds of challenges, but it's an open question that probably needs some reflection. But to do that, you'll have to change the entire system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, gentlemen. I think we have exhausted quite a bit. We have covered a bit. We're on the home stretch in terms of preparation. Well, I say home stretch, and still a long way to go. But in terms of the launch, it took place, and I think it's now for the various schools to have their various school meets, and then we hopefully will get down to the day. We're hoping that leading up to the Intercol, that we can probably have something again. I probably can get Jonelle or someone in to, to speak on the technical aspect of it, and give it a little hype as well. But I think 2023 destined to be a very successful year for Intercol championships. By the way, I have asked in 2017, it was the 52nd, anniversary of edition rather of the meet. I know we had the interruptions and things like that. So what it will be for 2023,
So in 2018, it was the 53rd year of the Intercol Championship. Right? There was no championship up until, if you were to add 2022, we add 22 as a game, but not as a regular game. That would be the 54th, but the 54th would be considered to be an unusual game, the one-day game. So this year, technically, we are into our 50th year of Intercol.
50 what?
55th, sorry.
55th, 55th year. Yeah. Okay, well, that's historic. I say again, barring the interruptions and things like that. So, and talking about interruptions, nothing on the horizon regarding, you folks are principals. We are full steam ahead in terms of staging the games, because things do the unexpected do happen there. I don't think with the teachers' protests and thing was, it came at, well, for the Intercol, I should say, sort of sudden, but for where you're sitting there, you don't think there's anything that will disrupt Intercol 2023?
No, sir.
Not that I know of.
No.
Once I hear no sir from an executive member of the Grenada Union of Teachers, that's what I wanted to hear. Once I hear no sir from an executive member of the Grenada Union of Teachers, I'm satisfied.
Do you guys have a emergency day? Maybe like a rainy day or something? Do you guys thought of that?
We haven't actively entertain an emergency day, but you're giving me an idea that we should put on the cards. Some individual school sports, I know when we were planning for our sports on the 9th of February, we had a lot of rain leading up to it, and we were beginning to think about a plan B. But for the Intercol games, maybe we should entertain the idea of an emergency day. Yes, I like the idea.
I asked that question because a few years ago we was in a similar situation with qualifying for the same high school championship, and it was bad. And we still continue with the race because we didn't have a rainy day. And you're talking about because we have the private schools also coming in, and people have to book buses and so forth.
Yeah.
It couldn't happen. The meet had to go on.
It could happen. Yeah, it could happen.
We just have maybe one person who could have qualified who didn't qualify, but people was literally running in a rainstorm.
Well, the good thing is that we have been blessed over the years that once we have Intercol, we have very good weather. That has been the good thing about it. Sometimes we have rain the day before, the morning, these sort of things, but somehow I can't recall Intercol being affected with rain or bad weather in recent times. Somehow we have been blessed to have good weather on Intercol over the years, and I guess as much from you folks, well, in terms of Brother Jeremiah, the presentation, Brothers College already have their, championships. MacDonald College preparing to have theirs as well in March. From you, Brother Jeremiah, all system goes?
Yes. It's full steam ahead from here, and from what I'm seeing, it seems as though we are going to have a good season all around.
And Mr. Andall?
Yes, this year is our 60th anniversary. We have 60 years of excellence. So I was supposed to be on the 3rd of March at the Fall Recreation Ground. And by now you're aware that once we have sports, a lot of persons tend to show up because of our track record in athletics. We are not where we normally want to be, but it's a work in progress. The last time we participated at Intercol was 2018. So it's a long time for us. So most of our senior athletes, well, nearly all of our athletes have left school. So the current batch of athletes, they have never participated in an Intercol game before, even those who are in Form 5. But without a doubt, and something that's very pleasing to me, Mr. Silva, and I hope that you could send back some of your children to school in MacDonald College. As we speak, more than half of our athletes, they are the offspring of some of our past athletes. So at school, we have the son of Stephanie Ferguson, who is a character medalist. We have Melvin Toussaint has 2 sons, and a lot of our past athletes. So without a doubt, the talent is returning. And in the not too distant future, once we do the hard work, we could be a force to reckon with once again. I have been there. I have done that. It's not difficult to do.
Before we head off, there's just 2 things I want. One just came up there. It has to do with what time of the day should all events be completed to get students on their merry way home. I know that has been a concern over the years in terms of when it's finished and, Intercol completed, so that, the problems we have had over the years where the students, hang around in the city area or the stadium, late. It has been a concern even for the Royal Grenada Police Force.
Well, the Royal Grenada Police Force is part of our team, our planning team. And if you go back and check out the lunch, you will see that ASP Trevor Rodney representing the RGPF. The question that Mr. Duncan raised there is a good question. The schedule is already showing that we should be ending the games somewhere around 6:30 every day. The final day might go just a little later. I trust and I hope that it doesn't go too late, because we want to give the public the assurance that, and certainly for the care of the athletes and the principals and coaches and so on who are coming from St. John's and St. Patrick's and St. Andrew, certainly day 1 and day 2, we want to get the athletes home as early as possible so that they could rest, because they have to take the bus again to return to town in the morning. And it's a tiring exercise, and therefore we're going to do everything within our power. But in terms of the security, we're certainly trying to put structures in place. We have some structures in place already. For example, buses will be given special passes to come to the stadium to pick up not only just athletes, but also to pick up students who have to travel to the outer parishes. So, we have some things that we have thought about already, and then we are in the process of thinking through a few other things that we need to do in the interest of security.
Okay, my final question for this segment has to do with the Secondary School Games Associations, the principals' involvement. I know track and field is the mainstay, but have you given thought into, just as athletics, probably football, cricket? I mean, we know the administrative bungle already for athletics, but have you given thought, just as how we have the ISA Jamaica, for example, that is running secondary, is a body that has been established to run secondary school sports in Jamaica. Is there a need? You think there's a requirement? Is there some thought into a similar situation in Grenada where the a secondary schools games association or whatever name it falls under can organize secondary school sports in the near future?
Right. Well, I'll say something and then I'll let Mr. Andall add a little to that too. Because GSSGA, as a subset of GAPS, its mandate is to do just that. And I did indicate to you earlier that we had preliminary collaboration with Jamaica. And one of the things that we were about to do in 2020 was to set up a secretariat. The secretariat is a kind of quasi-secretariat now because Ms. Madeleine Baptiste, who was the former principal of Anglican High School, had agreed to be the fulcrum of the secretariat. And the goal was to work towards becoming the prime organizers with collaboration from the main association and the government of Grenada to organize inter-secondary school sports. We wanted to begin with cricket and football. And that conversation has started. For example, I had a preliminary conversation with Mr. Dwayne Guile from the Cricket Association. And now Mr. Andall is the VP of the GFA. He and we have had that conversation. And within recent times, I had that conversation with the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Sports and also the Minister of Sports. So there's some preliminary things taking place, and hopefully over time, if we can start with football, cricket, and maybe netball, we will see where we go from there.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Andall?
Yeah, I think it's a very important step because sometimes when outside bodies like the Ministry of Sports responsible for organizing competitions, school competitions, they may not be very sensitive to some of the variables on the ground. So personally, if we have more collaboration with them, we could be in a better place. For example, in football, we at the GFL level, we sent a proposal last year so we could play secondary school footballs on weekends, on a Saturday. We had preliminary discussion and eventually we didn't hear anything about it. But if we reach that stage, that would be a plus. Because as principal and educators, we are very concerned regarding the amount of contact time we might be able to lose through sports. So it's a good initiative. I hope the relevant bodies are open-minded enough to see the wisdom in it and the benefits that our student athlete could derive from that arrangement.
Well said, gentlemen. Let me put up finally, good show, guys. I wish Mr. Jeremiah, Mr. Andall, and team successful games. That's from Mr. Duncan.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you for the continued support for primary school sports, Mr. Duncan. Carl is a transformation guy. Okay, so that's it. He says Carl is a transformation guy. Okay, right. Interesting discussions. Yes, thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you, lady. Rondell Charles. Interesting discussion. So again, as I said, Mr. Jeremiah, that probably close to Intercol, we may probably try to get Don, one of those, probably the technical, side of things to come in and speak to us about the as we say, the technical aspect of the games, and probably some of the logistics involved, and we can also hear more about the broadcast that we you spoke about in the introduction. It's really heartening to hear that a lot of strides have been made. People may not notice it, but I was expecting that once Intercol returns, it must return with a bang, and it appears that with the inclusion of the multiple events, the combined events and things like that. So, and by the way, you mentioned the combined events, but I didn't even hear the pole vault. I think it was 8 of 10.
Yes,
That is not a decathlon, man. You know, a decathlon is 10. You know. But it's a start. Yeah, it's a start because by the way at the Carifta Games, remember you're doing the disc doing the hip, right? They are doing 10 events. But I think it's given them the introduction for the combined events, and I think that is a good start for Intercol, and hopefully, God's willing, 2024 we may see some of the long events like the 10,000 meters and these sort of events, and gradually you start increasing, and hopefully we may go probably for a fourth day, and at some day we may be able to go 5 days. You never know. Yeah, but thank you very much, gentlemen. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you very much for having us,
Mr. Bascom. Mr. Sylvan.
Thank you, Mr. Sylvan.
It's time to come back to MacDonald College and do my General Assembly.
No, and let me say, Mr. Andall, I never get a chance to reach out to you. 60 years. I know sports is coming out. I know you tend to do sponsorship. Please reach out to me if something you need that I can do for you right away. I know time is short. You know my contact. Facebook anyway. Reach out to me, and then we'll just go from there.
You see what I was saying, Mr. Andall? You have to reach out to your past student.
And Mr. Bascom, before you go, Mr. Clever Jacodin, a past student of GBSS, I must express my sincerest thanks to him this year for his donation of spikes to MacDonald College. Mr. Jacodin is a GBSS student and his wife from SAS, but he reached out to us and donated some spikes. Thank you very much, Mr. Jacodin.
He did mention it on this program. This is his donation for the 60th anniversary, that he was going to give spikes to MacDonald College. So that's
but note what he said with his contribution, his small contribution, not to beat the Bullets. To be competitive, not to beat the Bullets, right? And for those who don't know, the Bullets are Tantine.
That bullet is a blank bullet now.
That's a blank bullet. Good afternoon.
Well, I would need bullets for the cannons, the old cannons.
Yeah, the cannons. I forgot the cannons. Yeah. Good afternoon, Rondell Bartholomew. Rondell has been tuned in, and Rondell, as you know, has been one who competed at the Intercol level as well and represented Grenada.
Hey, one thing just before I go, if I can give a suggestion for years to come, in terms of it could be a fundraising for you guys as well as a body of Intercol jerseys. People come in, they get a jersey of the year at the school, and they wear it. That could be a fundraising for you guys if you in the future to come.
Well, not just jerseys. I mean, we should have. Look, I just came back from Super Bowl, and there's so many things. And for example, on the airport, paraphernalia, paraphernalia, something like that. So,
especially next year, going into our 50 years, that 50, independent is something we can tie into with sports as well. You make it big, and I think it could be something really good to do to have something like that for you. For next year, sports, and tie it into 50th anniversary of having some T-shirts or something, like I said, as a fundraising for you guys that can go into something else or help you guys build as we move forward.
Well,
you guys are on the right path in what you guys are doing. And that's good.
Yeah, anyone can do these things, what you're talking about here, but what you're suggesting, Rudian, is something official, officially licensed by the
correct.
I agree with that, and I support that. Something that you can think about.
Mr. Sylvan, that's the kind of thing you have to tell us behind the camera. We don't want no smart person to take that and run around with it now.
Hopefully, just you guys alone that heard it. Nobody else was listening.
Yeah.
So
Thank you all.
Thanks very much. Enjoy the afternoon. Yes.
All right, take care.
Okay then. Yeah.
All right.
Okay,
Mr. Deputy.
Yeah, I know. That's story Deputy that showing on Tom there.
All right.
Yeah.
Mr. Deputy.
Okay. All right then. Thank you very much, folks.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Right. Thanks.
Bye. Yeah. So there you had it there, folks. Mr. Jeremiah as well as Mr. Andall speaking to us live from Grenada, Mr. Andall in the north, and Mr. Jeremiah somewhere in office, I think, because I think he's getting ready to go to attend the St. Joseph Convent school sports at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. So he's running off to the Queen's Park area. Rulian, very good discussion.
Yes, it certainly was. Like I said, there's a lot that they discussed to us that is behind the scenes on the little things that we didn't know about. So the mind is expanding, beyond just the event itself in terms of security. And like I said, buses can come into the stadium and pick people up and drop off. And a lot of things that they do. The future looks bright. Just really hope they keep it up, and the support come from the other bodies in Grenada that can be a part of them and to make that move smoothly and better for our athletes in Grenada.
Yeah, because I some of the high points, and specifically I know the broadcast issue has been something we have been talking about over the years. So it was glad to hear that they are moving in that direction, and it appears that what will happen this year is that we'll have a central broadcast where both radio and television will come from this feed, as he indicated. We have seen over the past few months the quality of broadcast streaming has really improved, and I want to say thanks to Richie Olivier and TR Communications we saw it in cricket, for example, and the investment they have made in equipment and personnel and things like that. So, and I'm certain that it may be going in that direction in terms of getting something as a quality. Listen, I think folks don't mind, especially in the diaspora, don't mind doing the pay-per-view, where they know that they can get something of quality. Okay. And by the way, if it's pay-per-view, it means that even if you missed it, once you pay for it, you still get to see it, So that's the advantage of having it pay-per-view, because once you log in, you'll be able to view it, and you can stop and start again, and whatever it is. And I think that, to me, is going in the right direction.
And it's in so many days, and with so many avenues out there, they just put it under one banner that they are running it. It should be through Facebook. That means people have to be on your program or add on to you, to be a part of it. There's YouTube. There's so many other avenues that can be used. So like I said, they're on the right path, and and it looks good. It sounds good. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, and then towards the end, the whole aspect of the Intercol, well, not Intercol, I should say, but the Games Association, whatever name they want to put it as, organizing secondary school sports, whether it's swimming, one body that will organize second, because I think you mentioned that too in the context of even for the sponsorship aspect of it, is that how
Jamaica.
A friend from Jamaica said how track and field is assisting
to cover everything else,
covering other sports where they fall short of the other sports.
And you have track and it's amazing how we see it, because in the US, depends on the school, football cover every other sport.
Their football
cover every other sport, and that's just exactly how it is. Them two sports, depends on the school, cover all sports
because of the television rights and all these sort of things.
And that's why you see the smart of it, like you see now. Texas Longhorns is now going to SEC and Oklahoma. Sooners is now going there because why? Television rights. The amount of money they can bring in and those kind of things. So they're transferring from where they are, Pac-12, right into the Big 12, right into that. So hey, it's good.
Yeah, and it's just similar to how we know, for example, the how they were able to organize. I don't say we reached that stage or we have reached that stage yet, but you mentioned, for example, you have the ACC, you have the Big Ten, you have the Longhorn, you have the Pac, and by the way, each of those, they have their own network, eh? You know, they have the network. You have the ACC network, you have the Big Ten network, you have the PAC network, you know, and I guess as much we will get there at some stage, not the networks per se, but the idea of ensuring that we improve the quality of the output, because with technology being made available, gone are the days where, you know, we see coaches scouting, traveling to this country just to scout and things like that. So, you know, very few. It's available. I was looking at a feature where a college recruited someone from Australia, but the coach didn't go to Australia because of videos and looking on and you know, some of the matches. Well, it was, you know, football actually.
Definitely.
The Australian style rugby football, right? So they were looking at it and they were able to recruit a player from Australia.
I noticed that football teams now is getting players too who play rugby.
Yeah. So gone are the days where a coach will have, or a scout will have to travel to that country and spend a couple, you know, days in hotel, going to the matches. No, these days. So it's important, especially for our athletes, that we provide, you know, something good, quality. People know what they're saying. People who can, you know, highlight our athletes, give information. And as Jason Skeet was saying, and we have been speaking about that a lot, you know, the man in the green and the girl in this, and, you know, and I mean, come on, you don't know the names of the athletes, and
I don't know that too. And that's why programs is important, because with a program, the names are.
But not just the program, but you need people. Listen, if you're doing the broadcast, it means that you have to start acclimatizing yourself with athletes, with attending the meets. You know, so that's only how you'll start to get. It's not just the program, eh? The program is one. You can have the information in front of you, but because you're not familiar with the athlete, there's nothing much you can say except to just say that this is John Brown. When I see this person, I know it's John Brown. No, you should know something about John Brown.
But funny, you know, because I remember in my days when MacDonald used to be broadcasting, and he was solid. He knew the athletes' names, he knew the schools they're from. So, you know, we're going back. It seems like we're going backwards and trying to move forward, right? Because in the old days, in my days, the broadcasters used to know who is who, right? So just today.
Well, I don't even want to talk about my days. I used to be traveling around to all the various school sports. As a matter of fact, there was once where GBSS, SAS, and MacDonald College had their sports meet on the same day. that was some time ago, right? And I used to have to decide, how am I covering those meets, covering it, you know? Because I want to see the athletes of MacDonald College. I want to see what SAS is offering, and obviously I want to see what the GBSS, and support the GBSS as well. And I think it somehow changed over a period, but then for a couple of years there was always a clash and things like that. So, but part of it was just getting to know the athletes, getting to see, so that when it comes to Intercol, I have an idea of who the athletes are, who we can look forward to, and when this athlete, you know, does this, I can relate to it in terms of back then, you know. And I think, well, you know, the problem we have is, as Jason is saying too, we may have to get folks even out of Grenada in the interim, but that's the problem we have, that you talk about it now, but the effort is not even there, so that the folks who know that they have to do it when they would start to go to acclimatize themselves. You know, you can look at cricket, for example, and you can tell that the guys who are doing the cricket commentary have been following cricket. You know, they are following cricket, so they know something about the cricketers. You know, they know something about the cricketers. They can tell you of. You know, you listen to Atto Bowling, for example. Yes, they have information in front of them, but because they're following track and field, They can tell you something off the cuff about this athlete, something interesting about this athlete because they're following the sport. And that is what we need to put ourselves to that level. I mean, you listen to Boys and Girls Champ, and I know they normally will look for the cream of the crop in terms of the broadcasters in Jamaica. Those guys are guys who follow. I know some of them. They follow track.
I listened to a football game of Jamaica, and the same thing. They calling players by their name. It's quite interesting that our level have to upgrade. Our level have to upgrade. It's good that somebody at home who's back home may listen to the radio, watching TV. When they call this person by the name, the parents want to hear that. They can get to go. So this kind of thing, we have to up the level of what we do in sports.
And the other thing about it is that the differentiation between radio and television commentary, right? Yeah. In that, radio, you have to color it basically because the person cannot see, so you have to color it.
Yeah.
Television, it can be a bit confusing when you try to do the running commentary and confusing people, because they are looking at it and they're not trying to. So you'll find some people, with a remote, about to mute because they're seeing it there. So you have to be careful in terms of the comments when you're doing television. That's why when you look at football, for example, Premier League football, and they're doing the commentary that they, you might find there's silence for a while, these sort of things. Cricket, for example, they will allow the bowler to bowl the ball, and then they speak about what happened, With radio now, you have to give the commentary so that the person can know the bowler is running up the ball to deliver, hit the ball, etc. But the TV now, I'm seeing the man running up. You telling me running up. I'm seeing him running up. I see the man hit the ball. You telling me. So, it has to be. And that's the idea sometimes of not knowing the difference. You're doing commentary, you just have to, run your mouth.
Run your mouth, yeah.
We have been running our mouth for quite a while now. Thank you very much, folks.
No, that was a pleasure. And it was a good one. Like I said, it's something we've been waiting for a while. We've been talking about it. Hopefully we get the technical coordinator will come on just before Intercol and get some more, and we get some more information based on the broadcasting. That'll be really good for us to know. And we go from there.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks very much.
No problem.
Yeah. Okay then, thank you very much. So folks, that's it. Rudian in Toronto. And before you heard from our guest, Brother Dominic Jeremiah, principal of the Presentation Brothers College, and he's also the president of the Grenada Secondary Schools Games Association. We also had Mr. Carl Andall, who is the principal of the MacDonald College, and he's the vice president of the Grenada Secondary Schools Games Association. It has been a pleasure being with you folks. Thank you, Clev and Roger, Toro, Babs, Ernest, and all those, even Mr. Simmons, thank you very much. Jason Skeet, nice hearing from you, guy. And hopefully join us next week, God's willing, for another in our program that's in our Saturday Sports Special. During the week, I will let you know who our special guests will be. But for now, you enjoy it and peace.